Ladies and gentlemen, head coach Brian Schottenheimer is about to approach his first very real challenge as the Dallas Cowboys head coach. In fact, there's two very real challenges approaching, and they both are directly dealing with things that we all as fans have tabbed as culture issues with this organization. Let's get right into it, and we're about to have a real dialogue, man. Put your pom-poms to the side as it pertains to cheerleading for any one particular player. We're discussing this from the perspective of a Cowboys fan that wants the best for the Cowboys organization. Let's get right into it. And be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content on the regular. Shut your up. All right, we have all been banging the drum of Brian Schottenheimer for the past month or so since they had a stellar draft and a pretty respectable free agency period, and it came through with some damn good trades. Everyone is feeling the shoddy. Everyone's taking shots of the shoddy juice, and now Shoddy is about to take a shot of reality as he's going to have to really deal with something that has been looked at as a culture issue with this team. Now, we're going to identify what these issues are, and then we're going to have you guys listen to a clip that may kind of give us some hope as to why we should believe that things may be different this time around, right? So the first thing I want to discuss is, and this is something that people have discussed a lot, man, is people have always discussed that one of the issues with the Cowboys is the fact that Jerry is the one making the decisions. Jerry makes decisions who's playing. He doesn't let coaches coach and all the stuff that we hear about Jerry. Clarence Hill Jr. reports of DLLS Sports, he reports that Cowboys Pro Bowl cornerback Daron Bland worked in the slot with Kyer Elam and Andrew Booth on the outside. He asked Bland about it, and Bland said he prefers to play outside in what is a contract year for him. He said he would be talking to the Cowboys about it. He said, quote, Calvin Watkins can't confirm he was eavesdropping on our convo. It's still just May. This bears watching. I will always give you the real. This was directly from Clarence Hill. So if this turns out to be BS caca, if Daron Bland comes out and says, nah, that didn't happen. Clarence Hill, it ain't AOC, Clarence Hill. I'm just reporting the news, right? And I'm having a very real dialogue off of the news that's being reported. And this right here is going to be one of many challenges that Brian Schottenheimer has to face. And this is probably going to be the first real challenge that he has to deal with as it pertains to an issue unique to the Dallas Cowboys head coaching position. If Daron Bland goes and talks to the Cowboys. Now, I have to be fair, it just says he's going to talk to the Cowboys about it. That could mean Brian Schottenheimer. That could mean the defensive coordinator. That could mean the position coach. But more than likely, and I think that this is probably what Clarence Hill is trying to allude to here, is that probably means he's going to talk to someone in the front office. Maybe a Jerry, maybe a Steven, maybe a Will. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm taking that. And if Daron Bland, I have to put this caveat, if he is going to ownership already to voice grievances with what Brian Schottenheimer is trying to do, and this was just reported only on day 2 of OTAs. We're currently on day 3 of OTAs now. They're doing day 3 today. We'll probably have another video a little bit later on, so be sure to subscribe so you can catch that one later. We'll probably have another video later on, kind of talk about some of the findings from day 3. But if Daron Bland is going to circumvent Brian Schottenheimer's authority already because he's trying to ensure that not the team is being put in best position to win via strategy and game planning wise and making sure you have your best place or your aces in your places, not by that way, but by him saying, hey, I need to get paid X amount of money, and I know for a fact that outside corners get paid roughly $8, $9, $10 million more APY than a nickel corner gets paid, right? Remember, Jordan Lewis just got paid like $12 million this offseason. I think the top nickel is making like maybe 15, maybe 16 on the high end, and I think that may have been the guy from Kansas City a couple years back. But the top outside corner is making $26 million right now. So there's an easy $10 million gap. We understand that. think anyone is missing that aspect of this conversation. So don't go in the comments talking about, oh, well, Daron Bland wants to make all his money. We get that part. I am speaking from the perspective of a Cowboys fan. We're about the best interest of the Cowboys organization, not any individual player, not their pockets, not their bank accounts, not their 401ks, not their generations upon generations being wealthy and all. I don't care about all that. We're speaking from the perspective of a Cowboys fan. That's what I care about, is the Cowboys organization being put in the best position to win possible. And the way you do that is by playing your best players at their best positions. And if the coaching staff has identified, and this is not something that is built in stone yet, this is something we're just kind of keeping an eye on. But if the coaching staff has identified that Daron Bland is best served, what we have in that defensive back room, if Daron Bland is best served playing that nickel corner spot right now, which is a very important spot, and maybe the pay wage starts to get switched a little bit so guys aren't as, I guess, anxious about having to play that position as opposed to playing outside. Maybe it starts to turn a little bit. But if you guys have been watching the modern NFL, a lot of modernized NFL offenses, they play their best receiver out of the slot, whether it be the Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb or the Rams with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and all these guys, or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Bro, teams are starting to put their best receiver in the slot, whether it be the Lions or the Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jameson, whatever it may be. They're putting their best guys in the slot, and a lot of their schemes and plays are being designed around their best guys being in the slot. So that slot position is extremely important. And more times than not, whoever's playing that slot, they're going to have to deal with a serious baller, bruh. So if Daron Bland is best served is playing that nickel corner spot for us right now until other guys get healthy, then that's what needs to happen. And it doesn't need to be a thing of, oh, I'm already going to go talk to the ownership because I don't like what the head coach is trying to do, or I'm not all that bought in on what they're trying to do. Man, it's too early in the process for all of this. For all you know, they may have just been trying to see how it looked there. But at the end of the day, if they feel like that's the best position for you, that's the best position for you, regardless of how much money you're getting paid or anything. And this is nothing against DB. We all love Daron Bland. He's done nothing to nobody. He is, by all accounts, he is a perfect soldier as it pertains to a player you want on your team. He keeps his head down. He works hard and he produces, right? So there's nothing against Daron Bland at all. But this is a conversation that's a real conversation, because this is the exact thing that people have discussed as to being part of the culture issues with the Cowboys. And now I'm very, very curious as to how Brian Schottenheimer handles this. How does he combat his players circumventing him at times? How does that dynamic play out between Jerry and Brian Schottenheimer? Does Brian Schottenheimer stick his chest out like, no, Jerry, I don't care what you talked about with player X. This is what we need to do because this is the best for the team. I'm hoping that that's where Brian Schottenheimer kind of takes his approach with it. And hopefully this is kind of like a nothing burger and Clarence Hill's just kind of stirring stuff up. I hope this is a nothing burger. But something else I kind of wanted to show you guys was the fact that the Cowboys are going to be featured on the NFC East Hard Knocks this season. I think it's mid-season. And essentially, this is going to represent the second big challenge that Brian Schottenheimer is going to have to deal with as Dallas Cowboys head coach, an elevated level of media attention on your team. And now it's going to come by way of the entire NFL documenting the Cowboys' road to their sixth championship. So I'm okay with this, to be quite frank. I know our initial reaction is to say, oh, it's going to be a distraction. Oh, this is part of the problem. Oh, Jerry shouldn't have done this. But to be quite frank, y'all, the Cowboys been on Hard Knocks, 3 or 4 times? We have lost 30 years. So 3 or 4 times, take that out of those 30 years. What happened to the other 25 to 26 years? Did Hard Knocks messes up those seasons? Exactly. So it's a nothing burger. Not worried about that, bruh. It didn't work when we didn't get attention, so maybe it'll work when we have more scrutiny and more eyes on us. Who knows, right? So at this point, I think that's just something cool to keep an eye on, but I also think it's going to be interesting to see how Brian Schottenheimer manages the extra cameras, because remember, Mike McCarthy, I think, lost some people when the cameras came at Hard Knocks for the Cowboys last time, because he came off as inauthentic. He came off as kind of like a showman for the cameras a little bit, and people kind of started like, is Big Mike really doing all that much for this team, really? So it'd be very interesting to see just the energy around this team, the dynamic. Is it really different from the last time we got to kind of have a peek inside the locker room? Because this is going to be actually perfect for us as Cowboys fans, because now we honestly get to see behind the scenes and see how guys are taking to the messages, how the coaches, how the staff as a whole is interacting with the players and all that stuff. So I think that's going to be very interesting, and that's going to represent another opportunity for Brian Schottenheimer to have an increased level of scrutiny on him. So again, another challenge for him to overcome. Now, I want to play this clip real quick before we wrap this up, because this right here to me is kind of just what represents why it may be different. Even though some of the challenges may be similar, this is why it may be a little bit different as it pertains to the results from said challenges. Let's take a listen to what Dak Prescott had to say about Brian Schottenheimer's shoddy psychology and culture, differentiating itself between what Jason Garrett and kind of Mike McCarthy them had going on here. Let's take a listen.
Jason Garrett talked about the right kind of guy and having captains. So this talk of chemistry and culture has been around here. You guys have said you've had good culture and you've had good brotherhood. Why would it be different this year? Why you said that's going to help us win? Why would it be different this year than in past years?
Yeah, I mean, I think one, the approach of how we're building it. I think a lot of times, may in the past, I've said it, and I've maybe just been talking, and not just talking, or naive in a sense of talking about how great just the offenses was, right? And not necessarily the team, and not necessarily offense connecting with defense, connecting with special teams. So
Right.
I believe that Shotty's doing it the right way from the top down of take the offense and defense away from it, take the positions away from it, take the coach and player aspect away from it, and let's connect. And you're talking to one of the most optimistic people I think you'll find. I've seen it the way that it's going. I see the way that people are buying into it, and it's hard for me to think anything different.
So the details, just to kind of sum that up, the details, and kind of making sure that everyone is aligned from the bottom point to the top of the mountain. That's the difference between what Schottenheimer is doing with his team and it seems like other regimes. And that kind of told himself there a little bit, kind of just letting us know that sometimes he is just being a good soldier. But I think that's the overarching point there, is the details are a little bit different. What Brian Schottenheimer focuses on, what he forces other people to kind of key in on, that's going to be the difference, and just the process in the getting there and how they do things, right? So hopefully all that translates in a tangible way, but to be quite frank, we really won't know. We really won't know until games start getting played. Everything until then is kind of just speculation and what we hope or may not hope will happen between now and then. But either way, let me know what you think about all this stuff down in the comments below. How do you think Brian Schottenheimer should or will handle these challenges that we identified in today's show? And I'll see you guys on the next one, man. How about them Cowboys?
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still in ball? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still in boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still in boys.